You know, traditional meat production is a lot like hosting a dinner party for 1,000 guests. It requires a ton of space, creates a ton of mess, and at the end of the day, you're left with a bunch of waste that nobody wants to deal with. That's where lab-grown meat saunters in, like that one friend who always brings the best wine to the party. Now, growing meat in a lab sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, doesn't it? But it's not about mad scientists cackling over bubbling vats. It's more like a very meticulous, very patient chef crafting the perfect dish. The process starts with a tiny microscopic cell, the kind you'd find in a spot of blood or a piece of muscle. It's like the yeast in a loaf of bread or the seed of a giant redwood tree. This humble little cell is the hero of our story, destined for greatness and a sizzling hot pan. Scientists coo and coddle this cell, feeding it a rich, nutritious soup of proteins and sugars. It's like a 5-star all-inclusive resort for cells. They lounge around, sipping on their protein cocktails, and as they do, they multiply. One cell becomes 2, 2 become 4, and so on, until we have a whole mass of cells. But these aren't just any cells, they're muscle cells. And when they get together, they start to form muscle tissue. This is where the magic happens. The moment when our microscopic hero transforms into a tangible, edible piece of meat. Now you might be thinking, but how does it taste? Well, imagine the best steak you've ever had, the kind that melts in your mouth, bursting with flavor. Lab-grown meat is like that, but without the guilt of environmental impact or animal suffering. It's like having your cake and eating it too, but in this case, it's a juicy, medium-rare steak. Now, lab-grown meat is still a new kid on the block. It's like the cool, edgy teenager in the world of food. It has its skeptics and critics, but it's hard to argue with the benefits. Reduced environmental impact, no animal cruelty, and a potentially endless supply of meat. It's like the superhero of the food world, swooping in to save the day. So the next time you're at a dinner party and the host brings out a platter of lab-grown meat, don't turn up your nose. Instead, raise your glass to the humble little cell that could and dig in. Because who knows? In a few years, lab-grown meat might be the star of every dinner party, and traditional meat production, the awkward guest who didn't get the memo. And there you have it, the journey of lab-grown meat. From a microscopic cell to a mouth-watering steak, it's quite the tale. So next time you're tucking into a juicy burger, give a thought to the science that might be gracing your plate. It's like enjoying a meal and a science lesson all in one. Now that's food for thought.